On the morning of December 20th, 1987, a teen girl's unclothed and strangled body was found near Blossom Music Center in Cleveland, Ohio. While passing by the road, an oil company driver found the body, and he informed the police. From the body, it was evident that the victim had been badly beaten, stabbed, and assaulted. The victim was identified as Barbara Blatnick, who had gone to a party that night but never came back home. Why did such a horrific incident occur to a young girl like Barbara? Who committed such a heinous act against her, and was the perpetrator eventually punished? Born on November 20th, 1970, Barbara Blatnick was raised alongside her sister Donna by her parents John and Teresa. By 1987, Barbara Blatnick was a typical teenage girl who used to live with her family in an apartment in Ohio. She had a deep passion for heavy metal music and never missed a chance to catch up on her favorite bands, AC/DC and Led Zeppelin. For her easygoing nature, Barbara became very popular among her friends at Erie View Catholic High School in Cleveland. She was a carefree and rebellious teenager who did not hesitate to skip school, smoke Marlboros, drink alcohol, and party with her friends. She loved to date random guys without being committed to anyone. Her carefree nature sometimes got her into trouble, but according to her parents, she had no known enemies, only a large group of friends. It was December 19th, 1987, and Barbara planned for a Saturday night party with her friends, Michelle Trodden, Sheila Salmon, and others. One of her friends came home to pick her up around 6:30 in the evening. They had a get-together in the Ozarks Bar, which was popular for serving underage patrons. Later, around 8 p.m., they visited another friend, Philip Knoll's house, to hang out together. Then they attended a small party at a local bicycle store near Philip's house, named Motorcycle Specialties on Turney Road. They all were drinking and having fun. Around 10 p.m., her parents got a call that she would return home soon. The exact location from where she called remained unknown. But she did not return that night. Her parents were familiar with her habit of staying overnight at friends' houses, so they were not concerned and did not file a missing person report. They thought she would come back home in the morning. But she never came back home. December 19th, 1987 was the day she was seen alive for the last time. That night after partying, Barbara intended to spend her night at her boyfriend Jerry Stead's house, near Warner Road. Jerry used to live with his parents and elder brother Bob behind the AC Delco Union Auto Parts store. That night, Jerry was not at home and was out partying with other friends. Later, during the investigation, Jerry informed the family and authorities that he had not seen her that night. A friend mentioned that she last saw Barbara around midnight on December 19th after dropping her off near Warner Road in Garfield Heights to visit Jerry. However, Barbara never arrived at Jerry's house. The next morning at around 10, authorities discovered the strangled body of a young woman, unclothed and abandoned on the side of O'Neill Road in Cuyahoga Falls. She had been subjected to vicious violence, including assault and strangulation, before being cruelly thrown by the roadside. Being informed, the police reached the place. After a quick observation, they noticed a class ring on the girl's finger. They removed it and found a name engraved inside, which read, Barbara Blatnick. Then police reached Barbara's house, where only her father John Blatnick was present. Her mother Teresa and elder sister Donna had gone shopping, as it was Christmas time and Donna was about to have her wedding, at which Barbara was supposed to be the maid of honor. The family was experiencing a joyful period, but their happiness did not last long. The father's expression grew pale when he saw the police at the doorstep. With a trembling heart, he had to confront the truth from the police officers and proceeded to identify the reported body. After the shocking incident, the Cuyahoga Falls police started an immediate investigation. Barbara was discovered on the side of O'Neill Road early Sunday morning, a time when the area was quiet and deserted, and it was not a place where teens usually hung out. That's why investigators speculated that she might not have been killed there. The detectives thought the killers committed the murder elsewhere and then dumped her body at that spot. Investigators got to know that on December 19th, she was last seen hours after midnight between 2 and 3 a.m., which indicated the fact that the vicious crime should have occurred between 2 and 10 a.m. To find out more about that night, the police inquired of Barbara's friends who cooperated fully. From their statements, it was very clear that Barbara did not meet her boyfriend that night. So why didn't she come back home immediately? What happened during that period leading to such a tragic outcome remained a question on investigators' minds. The autopsy report was very surprising, and the coroner gave controversial statements. According to him, Barbara's body was carried to the crime spot nearly an hour before she was discovered. She was still breathing at that time, but due to excessive cold and wounds, she could not survive. The manner in which her body arrived at that spot, whether carried, dragged, or thrown from a vehicle, remained a mystery. According to the report, Barbara was drunk when she was found. However, the exact time of Barbara's death was not mentioned in the report. When she was discovered, her clothes, jewelry, and purse were missing, except for the ring. This fact confused investigators. Why did the attacker take away everything except the ring? However, in the autopsy report, strangulation was mentioned as the cause of death. Surprisingly, the coroner also stated that she was violated by multiple people. In 1987, the benefits of advanced technology in investigations were not available, and advanced DNA testing technology was not so developed. However, DNA, swabs, and blood samples were collected from different parts of Barbara's body. In the blood test, different blood groups were found. DNA samples were taken from the victim's fingernails, assuming that she might have fought her attacker. There was another unusual finding on her left hand. A few numbers and letters were found written. Investigators thought it could be an address or a phone number or a taxi number. Surprisingly, Barbara's left hand was severed and sent to another lab for further investigation, without informing the family. However, even after these extreme measures, no leads or suspect was found, and the case remained cold for years. Over time, the majority of the samples and data were lost and mishandled by the authorities. After a decade, in 1997, the lead detective of Cuyahoga Falls remarked that the case had significant challenges in terms of being solved. On the other hand, newspapers released confusing stories about the case. Until 1987, there were 3 other unsolved murder cases involving different women in the same area. All those murders occurred within the same year, leading to the belief that Barbara's killer might be connected to them, and that her killing was part of a pattern by a serial killer. However, time passed and there was no significant progress in the case. After a few years, a drunk local man in a bar revealed some information to a friend of Barbara. He claimed that Barbara's boyfriend Jerry and his brother told him to clean their clothes and car the night Barbara was killed. When he asked for the reason for the emergency cleaning, they admitted to her murder. After this, Barbara's friend informed the detective about the revelation, but detectives did not pay much attention to such statements of a drunken man. 30 years passed since Barbara's death, and her mother had died without knowing who killed her daughter. Barbara's sister Donna moved on in life, and she lived with her children and grandchildren. Donna was at the forefront of efforts to keep the case alive over the years, ensuring that her cherished sister Barbara was never forgotten. She, along with others, ran a social media campaign for Barbara. Ultimately, in August of 2019, this case came to light when Porchlight Project, a nonprofit organization, partnered with the Cuyahoga Falls Police Department and took the case into their hands. $6,000 was raised to fund Barbara's case, which was used to conduct an advanced DNA genealogical test against the suspect. The DNA collected from the victim's fingernails was sent for analysis. The forensic genealogy was done by Colleen Fitzpatrick, a board member of the Porchlight Project, and her team of genealogists at Identifiers International.
We have made some scientific breakthroughs that are going to be significant for the forensic community.
Then they compared the DNA with the GEDmatch database, used for family genealogy searches, and investigators finally got the answer the Blatnick family had been looking for more than 30 years. The DNA matched with 67-year-old James E. Zastanek, a resident of Cleveland, Ohio. In the mugshot, he appeared as a white man in a black hooded jacket with white glasses. Fitzpatrick said that the DNA sample was a mix, with 40% being Barbara's DNA and 60% being Zastanek's. According to reports, the DNA that was found under the victim's fingernails came from Zastanek's skin.
For nearly 33 years, Barbara Blatnick's murder has been unsolved. But today, new hope. New DNA technology produced an arrest in the 60-year-old's 1987 killing.
James Zastanek used to work at Ferrotherm Corporation in Garfield Heights for 34 years, near the place where Barbara was last seen. Not much was known about Zastanek except the fact that in July of 1984 he was arrested for indecent exposure made to women. Though he had no other criminal history in either Cuyahoga or Summit counties, his brother was known to be involved in assault crimes. The Blatnick family, however, had never heard his name before, and Barbara's sister Donna expressed a sense of relief upon discovering that the perpetrator was not someone who was a part of their life. On May 6, 2020, Cuyahoga Falls detectives went to Zastanek's residence in Cleveland to question him for the first time, as they had enough strong evidence in hand. When the detectives inquired about Barbara Blatnick, Zastanek remained puzzled by the name. He did not acknowledge any encounter with Barbara and pretended as if he could not recall any interaction with the Garfield Heights girl who was cruelly murdered over 33 years ago. "It doesn't ring a bell at all," Zastanek told the detectives when he was asked about Barbara. But he proudly admitted to having numerous intimate encounters with multiple women during his youth. He reminisced about his past and said, "I used to be a." He confessed that he met many women but never met with the girl they were talking about.
In a decades-old cold case, we now know the Cuyahoga Falls police have arrested this man. That's James Zastanek for the 1987 murder of Barbara Blatnick. Blatnick was just years old when she was killed.
Finally, in May of 2020, Zastanek faced charges of first-degree murder, and he was arrested. Donna also expressed her feelings in an interview just after knowing about the arrest.
It's like it's all over again. Her violation of him and everything is just...
However, after Zastanek's arrest in May of 2020, he unexpectedly displayed a clear memory of meeting Barbara, compelled by the DNA test results that matched him. But he claimed to be innocent, stating he was a lover, not a killer. After talking to the detectives, he refused the polygraph test as it scared him. After his arrest, detectives asked him to show the place where he dumped Barbara. He cunningly replied that he had nothing to say until he talked to his lawyer. However, for the question of DNA match, he had his own explanation of how his DNA was all over the victim. On May 8, 2020, during a recorded phone call from inside the Summit County Jail, Zastanek explained everything to his sister. He said that he met Barbara for the first time on Warner Road at night while driving. She was alone at the time and agreed to a ride with them. Then they went to Zastanek's house, where she made a phone call to someone and had an argument, and she got upset. Then he comforted her, and they ultimately engaged in a consensual, intimate encounter. and this was why his DNA got all over her. But the last time he saw her was when he dropped her off at the crossing of Grand Division and Warner Road. He always denied killing her. Surprisingly, Zastonic was released on a $35,000 bond in July of 2020 and was allowed to live with his brother while awaiting trial. His relief left the victim's family dismayed, seeking closure after 3 decades. Zastonic's further trial was then scheduled for October of 2021. The Blatnick family expressed disappointment over the multiple delays in the trial due to the 2020 COVID-19 pandemic situation. As the case was nearing closure, Zastonic died of cancer on August 24, 2021, at the age of 69, while still awaiting trial, and was never convicted of killing Barbara. Thus, Barbara's case remained unsolved forever. At the same time, the lapses in evidence handling were concerning because when the case was reopened in 2004, the investigators could not find much crucial evidence. The hair, fingernail clippings, and crucial samples like swabs collected from Barbara's body were packaged incorrectly and could not be tested. Donna also confirmed this in an interview.
I always just thought we were just going to be one of those families that never knew because there was not enough evidence or samples. And unless somebody said, yeah, I did it.
Now the question was, who was responsible for the miserable ending of such a sensitive case? What would it be labeled as, the failure of investigators or the failure of the legal and judicial system? After 3 decades, Barbara's case ended without any closure. The ending was very disappointing for the Blatnick family, though they had been relieved when Zastonic was arrested. Barbara's sister, Donna Zanis, said that if Zastonic accepted a plea deal or if the case had proceeded to trial, they would have finally gotten the answers to the questions they had been asking for over 3 decades. After Zastonic's death, Donna had no way of understanding why her beautiful sister had to face such a cruel end, and what was done to her belongings, including clothes, shoes, and purse. Donna also claimed that Zastonic was lying, and she termed him a maniacal murderer and
It's like it's all over again. Her violation of him and everything is just...
Barbara's tragic murder was very disheartening, and the conclusion was equally heartbreaking. During all those years, Donna always kept her beloved sister's memory alive by getting a tattoo on her hand dedicated to Barbara, which read, "Tu me mangues," meaning, "You are missing from me." At the end, the question remained, was Zastonic truly innocent? Or was he fabricating a false story just to evade punishment?